This is the Alter Ego podcast. Today, episode 3, this is called Do Good Wisely, and I'm Nick Scopeguard of Alter Ego Marketing, close author, Arts Guy, and the Anxious Heart community on Instagram. Today, we're going to be talking about our why, our reason for starting, our reason for launching all these ideas and products and things out into the world. What do you think, Nick? I know you've got a lot to say on this.
I do, and I have to say that I founded my entire business concept, everything that created what my business is today, off of the TED Talk by Simon Sinek called "Start with Why," which actually I think is what his book is named off of. My business idea, my business concept, every single thing I do in life that revolves around my company was built off of a 14-minute TED Talk
Nice.
about starting with why. How do you do this, right?
That must have been
Um,
a big moment for you watching that then. That must have been like a light bulb moment. Like,
I can trace my founding moments back to two or three things. One of them is Simon Sinek's Start with Why, and one of them is Drew Dudley's TED Talk, Everyday Leadership. And
yeah,
those two things completely defined who I am today as a human being because they set in motion everything else that I was looking for. And I think that almost every business owner or young entrepreneur, everybody who wants to start a business, gets stuck at some place, right? Where they're like, who am I to do this, right? There are people who are better qualified. There are people with more experience. There are better
right.
authors. There are better writers. There are people with more credentialed degrees. I don't know if I'm hitting any hot buttons here, but,
Yeah,
but like, who am I to be the founder of the Anxious Hearts Guy? Who am I to tell people about anxious attachment? Who am I to be a marketing company? Why
you
am
know,
I the most qualified person?
I have an answer to that. Well, I know what my brain was saying when you're asking all that over.
And what is it?
Because we care. Because we're the ones who care. For me, that's what it's about, right?
And and here's the thing that I love so much, right, Ricky, is that like you can say that so confidently now, but how much, like, how scary was it
Ah,
before?
that's a good
Right?
point.
And
That's
so a lot of the people in the audience, like everybody who's listening today, is probably at that before moment. And they're like, Nick, well, you have a business, you've got these clients, you've got employees, you have a building, you have a sign, like
mm,
you're a real business. And Ricky, you've written a book, like you're published, you've got book sales in 48 states. Is it still 48?
48. We're still looking.
48 states in multiple countries. You've written this book. It's been published. It's designed. It's real. You can hold it in your hand. And you've got 30,000 followers on Instagram. And to that, I would say, like, she didn't. A year ago, you didn't.
Mm,
A year ago, you didn't have any of those things. 7 years ago, I didn't have any of those things. I'm not the person I was when I founded my company. And that's so incredibly important to realize that you just have to start with why. You have to start with why you are doing this.
mm,
And if I went back and I asked the Ricky from a year ago, right before you founded your Instagram, right before you wrote your first word on that book,
mhm.
and I remember having this conversation with you actually, right?
Yeah.
It's like you kind of got to this point where you're like, I don't care if anyone ever reads it. I don't care. I don't care if nobody likes the book. I don't care if I have 5 followers on my Instagram and 2 of them are my mom and her dog's account. I don't care. I got so much out of this information that I can't help but want to share it because
Mhm,
if this person I am today, the Ricky who's sitting in front of me right now,
mhm.
could go back and omnipotently bestow information on Ricky 10 years ago, like you could have helped her so much. And that's what drives me too.
You know what I would say to her, and this is what I would want to say to anybody afraid to launch that business. Caring is enough. It's enough. I didn't think it was when I started. I said, "Who cares that I care about this? I don't know what I'm doing." You know what? If you care about it, do it.
hmm
It
And and the thing is, sales is a transfer of confidence, right? So if you don't believe in what you do, you can't transfer it. Simon Sinek in the TED Talk I'm referring to says, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And I repeat that every single time. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And no one's buying your book because you wrote it. They're buying it because you were the person who needed that book 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years ago. You needed that information and it wasn't there in a digestible format that could speak to you. And so you went and made it because you want to make sure that no one else has to go through that moment that you did. And that's why I have this drive for like young entrepreneurship. And it's like, I was so scared. I was terrified to found my company. I was terrified that everyone was going to laugh at me, that nobody, I'd never have any clients, that I'd never make any money. I
You
was
did
terrified.
shared a lot of
And
you
you know
can
what the only thing I wish about that what it was? I wish
what?
I would have started sooner.
Uh,
I wish I would have gone faster. I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have fucked up more. Like that's it. I wish I would have fallen on my face 10 years before I did
mhm.
because if I wouldn't have been so scared to be embarrassed or to make a mistake or to screw up, I'd be 10, maybe 15 years ahead of where I am right now in business. Like I learned everything the hard way. And I'm sure you did too.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
Like you started posting on Instagram and you're like, that didn't work at all.
Well, even no, some of the posts were big flops, and even with this is a great example too. So the books are going to arrive in 1 week. I am shipping books out, right?
Yes.
It's me by hand, and my boyfriend was saying, "You don't know how to ship that many books. It's a lot of books, right?" And he was like, "You don't know how." And he's throwing up very reasonable concerns, like, "Ricky, we've never done this before. How are you going to do this?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure
Because there is going to be no one and nothing and no problem that could get in between you and sending that book out. And like I know you as a person, like you put your heart and soul into those pages and they're here and
it.
you are the one roadblock in between the person who wants to read what you wrote
Yeah.
and then being able to do that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you mentally cannot handle the fact that you're like, "Oh, I'll do it next week." You can't do
Oh,
that, can you?
no, no, no. I told him, even if the first thing that we try to get them shipped out doesn't work, I'll find another way. I'll find another way. And that's it. That's the great thing about care in starting your own business. Care finds a way. If you
And
really,
and care find support because you know what the first thing I thought of? You were like, "I don't know how to ship that many books out." You know who does? My parents.
yeah,
My parents own a
yeah,
bookstore. They ship hundreds and hundreds of thousands of books in their lifetime. They have all of the systems and approaches. And you know what? If you don't talk about the things you love, I would have never thought to volunteer that connection. If you don't talk about why you love and why this is so important, you're like, "Ah, Nick, yeah, next week sucks. I got to ship a bunch of crap." I would
mm,
have never said like, "Oh, are those your books that you're wildly passionate about?"
yeah, no, right,
Nothing. There
no,
would have been no response. But when you tell me you're sending hundreds and hundreds of these books out all over the world next week and you're not sure how to deal with this, but you're going to get it done and I can feel that passion.
mhm,
The first thing I want to do is I want to connect you to somebody who can help
right,
you.
right.
And
It motivates people to help you. I said that's the other thing. That's the other thing about me. I am not the most talented, most capable person in the world, but I always tell my man when 'cause he's sometimes the voice of reason, and he'll try to naysay some of my crazy ideas, and I'll be like, I tell him, I say, I feel like the luckiest person in the world. And you know where that luck comes from? It's because I'm like 110% passion. And I do. I'm throwing my ideas out all the time. I'm excited and I want to help people and I want to connect people. And people respond to that. They do.
yes, yes, and here, like, a perfect example. Do you think I want to help connect you to somebody who will help you figure out how to ship your books because you're gonna make a bunch of money? Like, do
No,
you think that's the driving force? No, hell no. I wanna
no.
help you because
Yeah.
you want to help other people. And so when I talk about business, when I talk about people starting businesses and like, how do you find your passion? Like, what's that step? It's like, you know what's right, right? You don't always make the right decisions,
Yeah.
but you know in your heart, you know somewhere in your gut that like this is the right direction. I'm gonna find a way to get those books out, hell or high water, no matter what, because I'm not the type of person who doesn't do that.
Right, exactly. Well, and I always love throwing this back to a hypothetical business that I know nothing about because it's great for thought experiments. Let's say I'm a young entrepreneur and I want to sell sneakers. Let's say I have I've designed the coolest sneaker. And I want to sell it to people. And I might be thinking in my head, like, okay, sneakers are not going to change the world, right? Not in like a
I disagree.
well, I say like, but that's what they might be telling themselves. Like, yes, I want to help people look cool and I want to make money doing it. That's not my Mother Teresa, Drew Dudley moment. Nick, how would I, a young sneaker designer, like channel that why, channel my purpose? Like how could I find my passion? Like
See,
I'm passionate about it.
see, like this is what's so interesting to me is like you might have a hard time seeing how sneakers could change the world because that's not where your passion lies, right? But
Mhm.
somebody who's a sneakerhead who absolutely loves sneakers can probably tell you about moments in history, moments in lives that were changed by a pair of shoes. You don't think there was a young LeBron James opening a pair of brand new Michael Jordans who was like, I'm going to be as good as this guy? You don't think that happened for millions of kids in communities all over the world that they literally put on their sneakers that they thought would make them run faster and jump higher. And as a result, they worked harder and longer and
You,
more and got better.
but
And
you Because
and
you're
then think about somebody like name of LeBron James or any major pro athlete, right? Their shoes are wildly important to them, and on top of that, some of them have gone on to be incredibly rich and
yeah,
give back in incredible ways.
that's
So LeBron James, and I don't know this, but I would be willing to bet that LeBron James has donated millions of dollars to charitable causes.
okay. Well said.
Sneakers change the world.
Even
Anything can change
as
the world.
put that out. I grew up rather poor, right? And I joined the volleyball team in high school. I was terrible. Don't get me wrong. I was one of the worst people. But the whole volleyball team decided that everybody would buy the same pair of shoes. That would be very cool. We'll all have the same shoes, except Nick, that those shoes were Nikes, and I was right? So I actually it's like one of those moments, I never got, like, nice new shoes, especially not name brand shoes growing up, but the whole team was doing it, and somehow I convinced my mom to buy me these Nike shoes so that I would match the whole rest of the team, and I'm telling you, I remember opening those,
Joy, right?
and I remember wearing them and feeling so cool, and I gotta say moment, but it definitely like impacted me, right? I do remember that. And I remember maybe I did play a little better and more confidently, right?
But and the thing is, like, maybe you didn't, right? Maybe you just felt like you did. Maybe volleyball had no major impact on your life. You're not a volleyball star today, but like, think of the friends you made, think of the connections you made, think of the things that you did as a result of that, and like, you're a long way out of high school, and you can still remember that moment.
Box, yeah.
And I think that right there is the thing that I wish I could tap into. I could teach every young business entrepreneur, owner to tap into, right? Is that passion passion will fix almost every other problem. Money will not. Money can fix a lot of problems, but money will not fix passion. If you don't love what you do, if you can't be contagious in what you do, then you have to rely on black and white facts and figures. And here's the thing: on your worst day, on the day you're tired, on the day you're sick, on the day when shit falls apart, on the day that like your company is on its last breath, money will not get you out of bed in the morning, but grit will, passion will. And if you
Perfect.
and you've been purpose will. Ricky, you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and like you're not like that amazing entrepreneur who's like, I want to be an entrepreneur. You're a byproduct entrepreneur. Like you're an entrepreneur who like, I want to do
Actor,
I want
yeah.
to do design, right? But I don't like that design, so I'm not going to follow those rules. I don't want that life. I don't want to go work for that firm. So fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. And
Hmm.
so the thing about being an entrepreneur is like you remember the months that sucked. You remember the projects that were painful. You remember losing money. And at some point, there's a lot of quit opportunity laid in front of you
Oh,
where you're like, you know
there's
what?
other
I could
jobs.
go get a job at Shoe Carnival. Like I
Yeah.
could I could just go punch a clock, and
Oh yeah.
today, that'd be a really I'd
I got
really like
I
that.
got 9 to 5 jobs, right? There were many opportunities to not have to wake up and do this myself anymore. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
And the thing is, like, I I don't know that I could ever do it. I don't know that I could ever go back to 9 to 5. I don't know that I could ever go work for somebody else in a traditional way. It would have to have some sort of ownership or profit sharing built into it because otherwise I wouldn't want it. I couldn't do it.
Right.
I don't know I don't know what the number is, but it would take an insane number to get me to go do a job that I don't want to do. Like that's
Yeah.
it. I will tell you that I have defined my entire life in this like really, really, really simple metric, which is like I seek pleasure and run away from pain. I do the things that I want to do and I don't do the things that don't want to do. And I've built my entire life around being able to make those decisions by like, you know what I want to do? This. So I'm going to go fucking do it. And you know what I don't want to do? That. So I'm
Right.
just not going to do it.
I
And you
love it.
can't make me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think a lot of people would be a lot happier if they move toward pleasure and away from pain, for sure. Um, I pulled up a list. If you I thought I could talk about this list. The list is called the top 10 to start your own business. And I just know that every point is going to make you dance with joy, right? So I'm gonna read one off, speak about it briefly if you'd like to, because I think you'll have a lot to say about every single point.
Oh, bring it on.
Are you ready? Okay, so so bullet point number 1 here. Each day at the office will be motivating. Please tell me that that doesn't speak right to you, right?
Honestly, what happens is, I think it was a Steve Jobs quote where like if I wake up too many days in the row and look in the mirror and don't like what I see, I do something different. And like
Yeah,
that's me as a business owner. If I wake up and I'm not happy, I change something dramatically about my business. And
yeah.
sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad.
Oh,
But
sure.
the thing is, it's like it makes me happy. So who the fuck cares?
Right. I mean, I know though that nothing is less motivating for me than repetition and feeling like I'm in a rut and feeling like I'm living in Groundhog Day over.
So at the caution of like not wanting to run way off track here, like I feel the need to mention something wildly important, right? And so like each day is different, each day is freedom. I talk about doing the things I want to do and not doing the things I don't want to do. This is so important to me too because money and cash flow is the thing that solves that problem, right? If you're poor, and I mean poor, 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 you gotta make rent, you gotta eat, your bills are banging at the door. You
Mhm.
even as a business owner do not get that luxury. And when you start a business, a lot of times it's like I work 14 hours a day every single day. I answer
Right.
phone calls on the weekend. I answer phone calls at Disney World on vacation
Right.
because that's what I have to do sometimes.
Mhm.
But you have to build a life around entrepreneurship to be ready for that. And Ricky, I think you've done a really good job of this. Is like you don't want to work 60 hours a week, and you're not going to work 60 hours a week. That's not who you are as a person. But that's also the reason why you don't drive a Ferrari. That's also the reason why you don't wear, designer handbags every single day is because the trade-off is you could. You make very good money, and if you wanted to work 60 hours a week making the kind of money you do, you could drive
Right.
whatever car you damn want
I
to. But that's not important to you, right?
Yeah, right, right, and it's what you said. You have to kind of build the rest of your life around that business dream that you want. In your dream, you have a lot of tall buildings in your mind, right? My dream is to spend fewer hours intensely focused on what I absolutely love, and that does mean no designer bags, but it's I've got a business vision in mind, and I build the rest of my life around that.
Well, and two, and without sharing too much of your personal details, you
Mhm.
sacrificed a lot of your own income early on in savings. Like I remember having conversations with you a decade ago where you would tell me how much money you're setting aside every single month, hell or high water. It doesn't matter how much money comes in. You've got Carter's college fund. You've got this retire. Like you were very disciplined with that
Yeah,
if that meant you set that money aside and then you couldn't go to McDonald's or were out for
absolutely.
steak dinner, you didn't go
Yeah,
out for a steak dinner.
yeah,
And
sacrifice.
so that's discipline and discipline and building a life that allows you that freedom is wildly important.
Sure, but that bullet point that I just mentioned, the motivation, I mean, it's very motivating though too, right? I
Mhm.
was Googling
Yeah.
about and the motivation came naturally. Um, the next bullet point, you'll be following your passions, but I think we already I think we already talked enough about that, unless you've got more to say, right?
Passion never fails is a quote that I love. Honestly, I think passion does fail, but passion never gives up, right? Like you're going to find a
I
way.
love that.
Um,
That.
like
That's real,
we're just not going to quit.
but it'll keep going. Um, the third bullet point, you might want to speak more for this because this is I know less about this. It says you can pursue social justice or support nonprofits. I have to say, in my own in the design side of my business, I have been able to do a lot of work for nonprofits that I care about quite a bit, and I give them crazy discounts. I can't work for free. I still have bills to pay and big savings goals, but it does feel fantastic to be able to pick and choose businesses and purposes that I care about, and to be able to help them out with a big steep discount on something that I'm doing.
One of the guys who was a really critical early mentor for me used to say all the time, activity breeds activity, right? Like if you're doing enough, you'll do more. And I believe that passion breeds passion, right? The thing is, if you're really passionate about what you do, people who are passionate about what they do will respond to you. And when you meet someone who's passionate, even if they're not passionate about what you're passionate about, you connect in a way that just doesn't resonate with other people. And
No,
and when you meet somebody who cares about saving the kittens or the whales or whatever, and like that is their life calling, you can't
yeah,
help but let your passion and their passion intermingle.
I got it. That's exactly it. I think some of the nonprofits that approached me, I thought, I've never thought about this issue one single time, but I was motivated by, I recognized the passion that they had as a mirror of my own that I had for my business. And we made some big things happen, I think, together. Yeah.
I love that.
Okay. Um, and I want to tailor every single one of these bullet points back to our theme of doing good, right? Um, you can achieve financial independence. What a
Yeah.
fantastic.
I've shared my quote over and over with you, and you've heard this 100 times, which is, I believe the secret to life is to put so much good out in the world that it cannot help but find its way back to you. And that is a variation of Zig Ziglar's. If you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. I, you have to fundamentally learn that if you make a big difference for other people, the money will follow, right? The success will follow, the fame will follow, the financial independence will follow. But you have to have good foundations. You can't be a stupid business owner. You have to lay the groundwork, and then you have to work passionately to help other people organically. And the thing is, you can call it cosmic karma or whatever you want, but I fundamentally believe that the second I stopped trying to benefit myself and started to try and help the other people who might want to do business with me, my
Mhm.
business exploded. That was it. I fell in love with what they were trying to do, and I made a commitment that nobody would work harder to take care of their business than I would. And
Mhm.
everything else came from that.
Nice. I love that. I think of our sneaker designer, right? And if you've got some business that you're like, "Oh, I still don't really see how I get to help people." If you can find a way in your mind to connect that with helping people, or to bring more passion, bring more joy into people's lives, and you pursue that instead of the almighty dollar, I think you're right. I think good
But
things.
I want to clarify one thing that's so important. One of my favorite books for young entrepreneurs is a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's by Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks a lot about, like, there are lots of passionate people who end up broke. There's lots of passionate people who end up doing shitty jobs and working for McDonald's, right? And the thing is, passion is wildly important, right? I really do believe that my business was born of passion and from all these things, but the financial side is important too. You have to understand money, and it's like, when you referenced a second ago the almighty dollar, it's like, don't misunderstand. Money is so important because money is the tool that allows you to do everything else. And I don't think money is important. I think money is the simplest, easiest way to keep score. Time is the only currency, and with enough money, you can buy more of your own time, which is exactly what you do.
Right, right.
You
Independence.
couldn't
Yeah.
have written that book. You couldn't have written that book if you were taking the bar exam and going to Harvard Law School.
No.
You're trying to be partners at a law firm. You could not have written that book.
Honestly, I don't think I could have written my book if I was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week either, you know?
Yeah,
I really don't. I
because
use
because that passion would be gone.
well, yeah, that too, but I mean, like you said, time is at a premium. It's not something you can buy either. And there's other things that I have to do with my life. I need time to exercise. I need time with my child. I need time with my significant other. You've only got so many waking hours per day, right? You've got to allot them appropriately.
Yes.
Um, which goes right into our next bullet point. You can control your lifestyle and your schedule. Um, doesn't that go right perfectly into that?
It
Um,
does.
yeah, and I
So so
what's
the
your
pursuit for me, and I think you and I actually have very similar pursuits, and we're going about it two totally different ways. But I
yeah.
don't think either one is right or wrong. But time affluence is the word that my mentor gave me in the
Mhm.
last year that I've never been able to get that word out of my head. The idea of time affluence is simply that you have the power to make decisions about how you spend your time. And the only way you get time affluence is by figuring out the money side of things. But the thing about that's beautiful about entrepreneurship is, Ricky, if an hour from now something happens to your kid and you need to leave to pick them up,
Yeah,
what do?
I can do it.
I leave to pick them up, right? If I wake up in the morning and I don't feel like going to the office, I don't have to go to the office. But you know what's weird? I was talking to my young entrepreneurship students, and I had several miss because it's the end of the year and they're tired and they're sick or they have a bad day or they're tired, like something, right? And what's funny is in the last year, you know how many days of work I've missed? Like I missed because I'm sick, or I missed because I had a headache, or I missed because I didn't feel good.
One,
Zero.
maybe
Zero.
zero.
I had 2 days of hell COVID, right? I was quarantined for 14 days. I built a desk on my front porch so I could answer phone calls without my kids screaming on the background. Like, and that wasn't like, oh my God, I have to go to work today or somebody's gonna fire me. It's
Right.
like I can't leave. I don't want to leave this, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want I want
No,
to do what I'm good at. I'm not
I
gonna lay in bed all day. That sucks.
I can relate to that though. So you're very much like hustle, do lots of work because I care. So, see, and I'm the opposite type of entrepreneur. I would like to work very, very hard for short amounts of time. But I gotta say, sometimes I will be on vacation or laying in bed and I'm grabbing my phone and I'm answering emails. I'm answering people's questions about my book because I want to, because I
Yeah.
want to feel it. It's like
Build
I
build a life you don't need a vacation from.
what's that?
Build a life that you don't need to take a vacation from.
Totally, totally, totally.
Most
And I
people work most people work 52 weeks out of the year to escape for one, right? My vacation's 52 weeks long.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. And that's part of being an entrepreneur. I think it is. It is. I want to say too, when we were very young, I remember something that I told you over lunch that I thought I was so clever and I had invented it, but it's the same thing that you just said. I said, I feel like very smart people should be able to spend their day exactly like they want to. And I don't know where I got that. I don't know. I may have heard part of it somewhere and then just adapted it. But I still believe that. I think if you have the drive to chase something that you're passionate about and make it happen, you can shape your days so that you're not hating yourself when you wake up in the morning and have to
So
go to
so
you just
Ricky, can I tell you a secret that I'm divulging on a podcast that I literally have worked very hard this year to not let anyone know?
sure.
I have spent and will have spent close to 35 days in Disney World this year. I have spent more than 30 days inside a Disney theme park this year.
What? Nick, that's
A
not
month. And
that's
and so here, Ricky, you work really close with me, right? Like really
yeah.
close, right?
No,
Did you
no,
know
Nick,
that?
no idea. There was only one phone call where I was like, Nick's been a little tougher to get a hold of than usual. But other than that, I'm telling you, like if you would have asked me to guess how many days you'd spent at Disney this year, I'd have been like, I don't know, 4, 5.
2.
Wow, you
But
nailed it.
but like, this is, and I don't say that in like a like I work really hard. My clients don't know that because when they call, I answer the phone. When they send an email, somebody deals with it. When I have a problem with a website, somebody's on that. And we've we've really strategically grown over the last year, because the thing I want to be doing more of is business development, this stuff, right? I want to be speaking more. I want to be involved more. I want to be more involved in the chamber, because that's how I bring in clients. And the
Yeah.
thing that I am not good at is graphic design. I shouldn't be doing the copywriting. I shouldn't be trying to fix the damn problems. I shouldn't be shooting the TV commercials. I'm not qualified to do those things. And honestly, I don't like doing them. So,
Right.
like, if I can get the hell out of the way, that allows the business that I'm building, the team that I'm building, the stuff that I'm building to create those opportunities. And that's so insanely important to realize. Like, there's a system in EOS, so that's the entrepreneurial operating system, and it's called Elevate and Delegate. And the whole idea is, like, what do you like doing that you're good at?
Yeah.
What are you good at that you don't like doing?
Hmm.
What are you bad at that you don't like doing? And what do you not like doing that you're pretty good at, right? And the whole idea is, take everything that you're good at and you like doing it and spend 80% of your time there. Take 10% of the things that you're good at that you don't really like doing, and that's okay, right? That's not a total waste of your time.
Right.
But if you're bad at it and you hate doing it, whatever falls in that category, fucking stop.
Outsource.
Whatever it is. Whatever you're doing that you hate and you're bad at, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh
Quit.
my, yes. I have so in my day job, I do a lot of graphic design, right? And I have lost count of how many people who have told me like, "Ricky, oh my gosh, you would have so much business if you just learned how to code and could do the development for a website as well as the design." And I'm like, "Stop talking to me right now. I just have less than zero interest in develop
And
web development."
and and furthermore, those people aren't the same people. They don't exist. If
Well,
you're good at coding, you're not good at design. If you're good at design, you're not good at coding. And there are very, very, very rare exceptions to that
you know
rule.
what though, Nick? Not to sound full of myself, but I think I could do it. If I really, you know what I mean? If I was very motivated, I think I could do a
But
passable, but I don't.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that the type of person who is good at coding and likes coding is not the same fundamental human being who is good at graphic design and likes graphic design. Because
Right.
you're either technical or you're creative. You're either detail oriented or you have like a more flowy pattern. Like that's not it. Like,
Right.
you either like lines and numbers and organization and charts and whatever, or you don't. And I think that the two boxes for those two jobs just don't align, except for in very rare circumstances. And it's not impossible, but
Sure.
those people just don't exist. And here's the more important one is, if you were a really good coder and you were a really good graphic designer and you really liked doing both of them and you try to do both of them, you will be okay at both of them. If you
Uh,
want to be a graphic designer and you love being a graphic designer and you're good at being a graphic designer and you put 10,000 hours into it, you're a master designer. And if you keep doing that for the rest of your career, you could be a world renowned designer. But
mhm.
if you keep hedging your bet and trying to do too many things, you're going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think, well, it ties into everything that we've been talking about this whole time. Kind of like find your passion, get this like laser focus on it, and chase it. The other stuff that you hate, that you're not good at, that you don't feel passionate about, don't mess with that. Leave that
Yes.
alone. Right?
Yes.
Let somebody who's good at that do
And
that.
and 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 find a way to make enough money to pay someone to do the shit that you're bad at and you don't like doing.
Yeah.
Like, I
Oh,
suck at accounting. I suck at accounting. That's not me. I suck at numbers. I suck at invoicing and organization and notes.
mhm.
I cannot be the guy who does that and be happy.
Well, and I gotta say, Nick, you don't have to make enough money to do that too. Make enough connections to do it. I don't have enough money to just pay developers like crazy, right? But I have enough connections to be able to work closely with them in partnership or passing it off to them as a project. Anyway, just saying, you don't have to be a bazillionaire to outsource their pay,
What
but
and really, you don't have to make very much money at all. You just have to charge enough for your time and be unafraid to charge enough for the amount of hours it takes two people to do a project that only one could do, to be able to bring those hours in. And so,
Mhm.
like, if I'm building a website, I'm going to be I'm going to be building a website with with a cost allocation for design. I'm going to be building a website with a cost allocation for coding. I'm going to be building a website with a cost allocation for copywriting and SEO.
Mhm.
And the thing is, those are four different people.
Yeah.
But the quote of the website is going to be more expensive than if I do it all myself.
Mhm.
But the thing is, the final product is going to be better,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I can find a template and Photoshop in some crap myself, but my fundamental product is going to be a lot better if you're involved in the design of it, right? And that's objectively speaking. Like that's not even like a compliment to you of like I'm just not that good at it. Can I do it cheaper? Yeah. Is it going to be as good? Hell no. So figure out what it takes to deliver something great. And if that means 2 hours of project management and 1 hour for accounting,
Yeah.
build them in.
I love it. I love it. Let's go to next bullet point, right? How long are we going today? What do you think?
We're good. Let's rock and roll. Let's hit the whole list.
Okay, I just want to just time check there. Um, this bullet point says you can start from scratch, and I actually love that bullet point. I love that bullet point a lot. So let's keep trying to tie this into doing good. But I gotta say, I remember a lot that I dislike about working for other people. A lot that I dislike. I'm sure you can too.
Oh, so I'm going to sum it up in one. Like, why do we do it this way?
Yeah, exactly, and no good answer for that, right? Because I said so, because that's how I built my business from
Because
scratch.
that's how we did it last year.
Yeah, that's how we've always done it, right? So, going your own way, being your own business, you get to make those calls. That's
Well, and so like I was in sales in a lot of different capacities, and I remember being like, hey, this is a client that I can help, that I can make a difference for, and for whatever reason, they didn't have enough money, or they weren't the right fit, or they didn't like the contract, or something like that. I remember going to my boss and being like, look, I think we need to bend the rules for them. I think we need to make this happen for them. And I remember doing that and thinking like,
how to
what
that.
what's happening, right? Like why are we not finding a way to bring them on as a client, because they're going to come back, they're going to do more business with us. And like when you build your own company, you start from scratch, and a lot of times you just solve the problems that you think are stupid in the other places that you had to work. You go to the client and the client says like, I don't want to do it that way, and they go, why can't we do it this way? And you go, you know what? It's a really good idea, Ricky. Maybe we'll try it your way, because you have the power to make that choice.
Yeah,
You have the power to help people because it's the right fucking thing to do.
right. But you can't. Yeah, having that power. I there is a lot of money that I would sacrifice, that I do sacrifice to be able to do things my own way in my own business. A lot.
Mhm.
There's a lot of friends that I have who are working jobs that are just okay, or that they straight up hate for fantastic benefits, or high salary, right? And they go home at night, and the thing that kills them is not being able to do things the way
Okay,
that.
so I love this. So we've talked about this before, but that term is called golden handcuffs, right? Is I have a job with great benefits, I have a job where I make a lot of money, and I have golden handcuffs. I am stuck. I
Yeah.
cannot quit this job because I make too much money. And here's the thing. There are so many entrepreneurs, people who want to found businesses who don't know how to do it because they make 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a year. And
Mm.
they're like, well, I have my SUV payment, and I have
Oh,
my second house payment and whatever. And the thing is, every single one of those people, every one of them have made this personal choice to make a sacrifice to go, you know what I want? I want to go shopping for a new purse or a new car or a new house or new furniture, instead of finding a way to get to my entrepreneurial dream.
yes.
The
You're
bottom line is, if you're young and you want to start a business, money is usually a problem. If you're not young and you want to start a business, money is usually the problem. Here's the thing. The only way you fix that, this is how I built my business. And I think this is like one of the smartest things that I've ever done in my life. And I did it almost by fucking accident. I
uh,
wasn't a genius. I didn't like plan this, but I cut my own salary. I cut my salary by 30% the day I decided I wanted to start my business. And I lived a year pretending that I made 30% less than I actually made.
that's
So so what happened is I took all that money and I set it aside. And the goal was just to get to like 3 months worth of pay, roughly. So a third of my salary, 3 months worth of pay. That's kind of where I was going. That was the headspace. It didn't exactly work. But
mhm.
one, I got used to living with bills that were another level lower. I
Yeah.
cut things out of my budget. I cut things out of my like, hey, do I have money to go to the bar and drink tonight? No, I don't, because I didn't make that money. And at
Right.
the same time, on the other end, the savings that I didn't have, it went into a totally different savings account. It wasn't the rainy day bills account. It was the entrepreneurial, I'm going to launch a company. And so this built and built and built, and my salary cut and cut. And by the
Mhm.
time I got to the place where I was ready to found my business, I remember having this conversation with my wife. I literally said to her, like, I'm going to do this. And if I fail miserably, if not one single client gives me one single dollar,
Mhm.
at the moment I realize it's not going to work, I'll be able to pay myself 3 months worth of the salary that I used to get to go find a job. I
That's
will
fantastic.
pay myself to go look for a job. But here's what was so fucking amazing about this, right?
Mhm.
Is I had that out loud. But Ricky, even on your worst day, on your worst month, when you first started,
Mhm.
the chance that in a 3 month period or a year period that you're going to make $0
Figures. Yeah.
is almost unimaginable, right? Like you can't do it. I remember not making a lot of money. I remember having tough months. I remember having a lot of outflow and not a lot of inflow.
Mhm.
But I've never had an instance where all of my clients called me at the same time and said, "We're just going to quit paying you." And so those cash reserves, instead of being 3 months, that gives me 6 months to find a job at 50% of my target. It
Mhm.
gives me even longer to find a job at 75% of my target. And the thing is, eventually it was like, hey, I don't even need to have this money set aside before, because I wouldn't need 3 months of my full income. I'd need a month or 2 months of a little bit of extra cash to float me by.
Yeah.
That's not anywhere near the number that I thought it would take.
Mhm. Mhm. I love
So
that. Yeah.
find a way to cut your own salary. Don't let money be the problem, and stop living like you're rich before you're actually freaking rich.
And for the young folks listening who haven't quite gotten all their life things and obligations going, start when you're poor. That's what I did. I started when I was poor.
Oh,
I never had
like
a car that I had
so
to
yeah,
out.
and
Start.
so being poor as an entrepreneur is a superpower, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing: I have to be careful with that. It's not being poor; it's not making a lot of money, right?
Maybe that's a weird way to put it.
Because if you're way in debt and you have lots of expenses and you have two kids and you have a job and a house and a car and a mortgage and whatever, and you work at McDonald's, that's hard. I get it, right? But if you start when you're 18, 19, 20, you have a roof over your head, you can live with your parents, you have a shitty car, and you're working at McDonald's. I'm telling you right now, that's a fucking superpower. Because do you know how easy it is to make $150 a week?
Yeah. It's pretty easy. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Garage sailing. You can pick
Yeah.
shit up on the internet for free and resell it to make that money. And look, at the end of the day, if you only make a couple $100 a week and you don't have very many expenses, you can go mow lawns and then found your business in the meantime, right? You can go work 20 hours a week doing hard labor that other people don't want to do
Right.
and
What
make great money.
when I started, I was newly married, fresh out of college. Our living expenses, in retrospect, were incredibly low. They were a little scary to me because I thought, "Oh, I have a house now. This is scary." But I was newly married, and I told my husband at the time, I was like, "I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna start working for myself." In those first few months, I made peanuts. I truly did not, but you know what? When I had my bill crop up that I needed to pay, I sold some stuff, I sold some stuff and I kept going because like you
Well,
said, not
and
that
and two, when you start off as an entrepreneur and you're poor and you don't make a lot of money, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be a graphic designer. I'm going to do this because I'm passionate about it, because I care about it, but I don't have any clients, right? Somebody paid me $8 to go design one thing last week. Do you know what
right,
that leaves you with? 39 normal working hours that you can go out and network to find new clients, that you can go to chamber events and Kiwanis events and whatever, right? Ribbon cuttings and after hours and networking things and
right.
social events.
I used all that spare time because I had a lot of it because I did not have very many working projects. I used that spare time to network. I used that spare time to build my portfolio. I used that spare time to buy extra books that I didn't get in college to learn more about design and theory and the programs that I was using. I never stopped. I
And,
never,
and and perfect example, we met at a young professionals networking event,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
over the course of our working career, there's been thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that either we've sent your direction or we've helped you network to send your direction. And that all came from like one innocuous conversation that had nothing to do with anything. And
When
and
not making money, right? When I was
yeah,
entrepreneur not making money.
and vice versa, because I have to like, if I would not have met you, Ricky, early in my career, my business would never have gotten to where it is today. Like, we were in meetings that I would have never been in meetings with because of you. Like, we were doing design at a level that we would have never been able to. I couldn't do that. And so like, we had this great symbiotic relationship early in our career, but like, it came from a networking event because you were poor, because you were working for yourself and you decided that was going to be your thing, and you didn't have clients.
Mhm.
So if you're poor, and you can, it's a superpower, because if you can go out and network, if you can live with the total cost to be you as cheaply as humanly possible, sleep in your parents' basement, drive the shitty car,
Mhm.
and eat ramen noodles, go chase your passion before you get bills. Because
Yes.
the worst thing you could ever get, and I speak from experience, is a job that pays you 30 or 40 or $50,000 a year. That now you're like, oh man, now I'm gonna go get a nice car, I'll get a better apartment, I'm gonna move out of my parents' basement, I'm gonna take my girlfriend out for a steak dinner, and all of a sudden you're fucking stuck.
Mhm. It's okay. Here's the next one, and you will like this. True job security. And I gotta say, that's kind of a double-edged sword, but you told me this
No, 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 it's not. It's a one. I disagree wholeheartedly. Go ahead and finish your sentence.
sword. You told me this, and it just really resonated with me. You said, Ricky, what would happen if your business just completely imploded, right? All of your clients are gone, and you just know you cannot keep doing what you need to do. And I said the exact thing that I'm sure you knew I would say. I said I'd start another business. I would start another one.
Well,
Like,
and I mean, you're talented enough. You've got a big enough portfolio that if you need to go get a job for a little while as a graphic designer, you'd have no problem
yeah.
finding work. Um, Here's the other thing: is how many bosses, I mean, bosses, how many clients do you have at any given moment? If one fires you, are you out of business?
No, no.
No, and I'll tell you, the bigger you get, the more freeing that is. I'm dealing with a client situation right now of somebody who I love. I love working with them. I love their projects. I love their business. I love what they've done for us as a business.
Mhm,
I think we're a really good fit for them, and I'm not sure that I'm still going to be working with them in a couple months, much less a couple years. Right?
mhm,
We've just grown to a point where we're not a great fit potentially, depending on some decisions they make. I remember thinking that if any one of our top 5 or 10 clients called us one day out of the blue and just said, "You're fired," I remember distinctly having this fear, irrational fear, that I'm going out of business. And you know
Oh,
what?
I've
I've
been
got
there.
26 more.
Yeah, yeah. No.
And you know what I'm going to do with those extra hours? I'm going to go network. I'm going to go find new clients. I'm going to go to more events, because I cannot go do that right now because I'm doing so much work for this client that isn't paid at the level that it should be.
Mhm. Nick, do you know how many times in my career I've lost my best client?
A
A
lot.
lot, a lot. And every single time it happened, I had that fear. I'm done and finished. My business is over. And do you know how many times my business has catastrophically failed when I lost my best client? Never. Never.
Never.
A new
Never,
one.
because what would happen, you'd pick up the phone and you'd be like, "Ah, Nick, I had this really bad day and I had this big project and now I don't have it anymore." I'm like, "Great, because I have 7 things for you. Please
Right?
tell me you have some time to
Right?
do my projects. I
Yeah.
know how busy you are. Please, 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 can I send more shit your way?"
Yeah. Yeah. And I gotta say, the most recent time that my best client left, I thought I'm really gonna dig into this book stuff. And
Yeah,
wow.
and here you are.
Wow. I gotta
So so, I believe there's a term, and I drive my wife crazy with this term all the time, because I like to say this. I am a reverse pessimist,
yeah.
right? And we talked about the semantics of this, but again, I believe the principle, right? A pessimist is somebody who believes that the world is conspiring against them at all moments of every day. The next shoe is about to drop. This bad thing's going to happen. This client's going to fire me. This like bad stuff is coming, right? I fundamentally believe that the entire world at any single given moment in my life is conspiring to make great things happen to me. I believe that I am being pulled towards a destiny that I cannot shake,
I
right?
Oh,
Everything, every
that
failure, every misstep, every mistake is leading me towards that goal. And had you not lost that client,
mhm.
you might not have written this book. You might not have finished this book.
Yeah, you're right, I might not have finished it, and then I might yeah, I think about that, and that's one of the reasons, like what you just said, that's one of the reasons I tell my man, I feel like the luckiest person in the world because everything that I do drives me toward better things all the time. Even have those moments where I think, "I'm finished, it's all over," I have those moments and they never end up being true.
I have I have this, and I want to share it really quickly. Um, I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and I think it's a wonderful book. I think it's you could read the cliff notes and get most of it really quickly. But there's one thing that they talk about, which is like this idea that like what you feed your brain
Mhm,
is where you go. And I have these like 10 life goals, and like they even say like you're supposed to like read them out loud as though they are inevitable.
mm,
Um, but a couple of them that are important, and there's three, right? So
mhm.
number 8 is I am unimaginably lucky, and things will always tend to turn out in my way eventually.
Nick,
Number
I
9,
that. That's amazing. That's my
yes.
that's my
Number 9, my destiny is pulling me through time. Every perceived misstep, mistake, and failure is just guiding me towards the right path, towards my inevitable success. And number 10 is I am unstoppable. There is nothing that will get between me and who I am supposed to be. And it doesn't matter what life throws at me, I will not stop.
Can I pull out my mom's quote again? Did I say
Yes?
the same
Beautiful.
thing?
What is it?
Didn't I tell you this last time? I may have.
Yes.
Deciding everything is falling into place perfectly as long as you don't get too picky about what you mean by place or perfectly. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the things I attribute my luck to is that I can find the good in all these situations, right?
So,
Especially situations.
and that redefines that word luck, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. It redefines it. It does.
So, Peter Dinklage, a quote, and I use this all the time: "The moments that will define you in life. Stop waiting for the moments that will define you in life, because the moments in life that will define you have already happened. You just don't know it yet." And I remember sitting in the parking lot of a building, literally crying. Right, I got fired from my dream job. I thought my life was over.
Mhm.
And all I can think of is in that moment, that person who was sitting there really upset at this terrible thing that had happened. I was a victim of bad shit that was beyond my control, which also wasn't true. But I was this victim, and it was like, oh, the world is screwed me. Oh, I'll never get to where I want to go or what I care about or whatever, right? That person had no idea that that really, really, really bad thing that had just happened would go on to define every other good thing that has ever happened to him in his life. That was my turning point in life.
Nick, do you remember sitting on the phone with me at the brink of my divorce? Do you remember how
No, I don't remember this. Phil,
I
remind me. I'm
I
sure I do, but I don't specifically.
I did a lot of walking. I did a lot of walking, and we would be on the phone sometimes talking about our business things when I was walking, contemplating my divorce right there at ground zero. Um, and I got to say, that's the same thing. That person who was walking, going, "Oh my goodness, my life is over. What's it?" had no idea that that was one of the important building blocks for where I'm at now. It's like, the entrepreneurs out there who go, "I don't know how I'm gonna start," or "I just had this giant setback," like, sometimes the things that look like giant
Good,
are your building
good.
block.
I'm glad. That
Mhm,
that setback will define your success. And the thing is, like, if you look at classic literature, right, the hero's journey, the
mhm,
arc of the character, right? There is no movie that you have ever watched. There's nothing that you have ever felt strongly about in any kind of cinematic book, anything, right? Where it didn't start out. Here's this hero. He's got this calling, and then some bad shit happens. He's at the brink, right? And the music cues the music, and he gets back up on the like the brink of destruction, and all the good things happen from that moment. There has never been a story that you have ever felt passionately about where that
right.
did happen. Why is it that we think that we're going to be the one exception to that rule?
I
Everything's going to go perfect, right? I just want a business where all the clients hire me, where they give me lots of money, where there's never any problem. It's just going to go great. Why do
mm,
we think that? Why do we even want it?
maybe we should embrace more exciting stories than that, right? Maybe that's key also. Maybe the
Look at Jeff Bezos. Look at Elon Musk. Look at all of the times where they were on the brink of catastrophic failure. Look at all the people who found companies that never go anywhere in their 20s and their 30s when they're teenagers, and then go on to found things that are changing the freaking world.
yeah.
Elon Musk sold out of, I think it was PayPal, and like spent all his money. Was like sleeping on his best friend's couch, and now he's literally the richest person on in the
Wow.
planet.
Not know that. I
Right?
didn't know.
Oh, he spent every dime he had and literally invested in all these companies and was sleeping on someone else's couch, and now he's a bajillionaire?
Yeah, we don't talk about that. That's another message tonight, the entrepreneurs out there. You don't your heroes that you're looking at didn't have didn't have diagonal trajectories. Their trajectory
No,
like right, bumpy.
every single one of them.
Mhm. Including you and I,
Yeah.
right? Including you and
Oh,
I.
there were lots of moments in my career, and I'm sure yours too, where you're like, "I don't think I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna fail. People are
Yep.
gonna laugh at me. I
Regret.
can't do
Mhm.
this."
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think we talk about that enough, especially to the people who want to start.
We judge everybody else in the world by their highlight reel, their 5-minute highlight reel, and we judge ourselves by the collective embrace of every single moment we've ever lived. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. When you're on screen with the booger hanging out of your nose, you remember that moment. No one remembers that moment about
Right?
you.
And there's plenty of opportunities for you to do good and spread good into the world with a bumpy trajectory. It doesn't have to go perfect for you to get through your hero's journey and
I,
get to
I
that.
could not agree more. In fact, it can't.
You can't. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. The hero's not a hero without some sort of struggle and battle. Maybe even a couple of failures along the way.
Definitely. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the shortcut.
Oh, which will be another book that's
Oh, hell yes.
right. I
That
have
is the book.
yeah. Cool. Well, that's it. My list is exhausted. Did you have more things on?
So I think I just want to wrap up with one last thought, which is that you cannot get what you want in life by being selfish. And the
Mm,
thing is, if
right.
you just want to make more money, enough will never be enough. There is no such thing as enough. If you just want people to think you're rich and famous, what's going to happen is you're going to make a bunch of money, and now you're a millionaire, and you go to the millionaire club, and somebody has a bigger yacht and a nicer car. And the thing is, that never goes away. There's
Mm,
always going to be somebody more successful than you. There's always going to be someone smarter than you. There's
yeah,
always going to be somebody who has whatever, more money than you, more power than you, more influence than you. And look, the only way, the only way that you can ever self-define as a success is when you turn back around and look at all of the people who are not where you are and find a way to help them up.
I agree wholeheartedly. My little tag on to the end of that. Besides design, psychology is my other gig, right? And there's something in psychology called hedonic adaptation.
Ooh, fancy.
Yep, and that idea is that, any increase in positive feelings that we have is no matter how stable or long running it is, we're going to return to our baseline every time. You win the lottery, you're going to return to your happiness baseline. You start a super successful business, you're going to return to your happiness baseline. That's why nothing's ever enough, and that's why another reason why money is a terrible happiness maker. You finally hit that million, you're going to return to your happiness baseline. It will never feel like enough.
Yeah.
Purpose, passion, and putting good out into the world, those are things that don't get old for humans.
Well, and money and finance and stuff like that, as you starting a business or a company, right? Like it's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You have to have enough money to be safe. You have to have enough money to be fed. You have to have enough money to be healthy. But as soon as you surpass that need, the shiny things lose their shiny. They always will. There's always somebody with more. And the thing is, if you compare yourself to those people, you will always be unhappy, right? And that has been so hard to learn in life. And the thing is, when I go talk to young entrepreneurs, when I go work with someone who isn't where I am and who values what I have, always remember there's a lot of people who are like, Nick, you're so lucky. Like you've done so well. I hope I could like you. It must be easy for you. It's like, are you serious? Like, it's so hard because I have to like pinch myself and be like, yeah, I mean, I guess I am doing pretty well for myself. But the thing is, like, every single time. All I want to do is be like, no, 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 no. If I can do this, I'm not very smart. I'm not the hardest working guy in the room. I don't have the best tools. I'm not even the most qualified person to do what I'm doing. And yet I'm here. I have all of these things that are in my win column. And
Mhm.
you're looking at me like I'm very well accomplished. All I can think of is like, if I can do it, so can you.
Yeah.
And if I can just help you figure out how to unlock that piece of your brain that will let you go chase it and give you permission, I I can't wait to see what you do with it. And that's that doing good recklessly.
There it is. That's your good. Yeah, I love it. I love it. This was a fun one. This
Well,
was a
Ricky, thank you. Seriously, thank you for the part that you've played in my life and my ability to do recklessly. You have done so much good for me recklessly. I don't think you could possibly imagine. And
oh,
so
you're good too. So,
I think it's a pay it forward opportunity. Like I think you've done a lot for me, and I hope that I have returned that favor over and over. And I cannot tell you, I appreciate you doing this because if it helps one single person, it's all worth it.
love it. That's my goal. All right. Until next time.
All right.